Hello, this is Anne from Cards or Die, and I'm just going to introduce you to Blastoff, which is by Waddingtons, and it's one of the games in the collection at the Abbey House Museum, and it's also World Space Week, so what better time than to learn about Blastoff. So, in Blastoff, you're attempting to blast off from Earth and explore planets, okay? And the game ends when a player reaches the furthest planet, which is Pluto. If you're wanting to shorten the game, you can reduce the number of planets that you're aiming for. Okay, and you keep track of how many planets you've reached. Each player keeps track on here. So you start off on 0, and then you've got your different planets there that you've reached. So first your satellite, orbit, then you dock, then you've got Venus, then Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto finally. Okay, so you can keep track of up to 4 players there. So we start off with you on Earth. Okay, and the first thing you've got to do is you've got to use your satellite, which is this piece here, to orbit the Earth with your satellite. Okay. You're always going to be moving clockwise in the game, and if you ever land on an occupied space, you're going to throw the first craft that's there off course and fire them back to Earth. Okay, so the way we move is we roll the dice, and I've got a 5, so that you can see the command area here. This is where we take off from, so I would go firing off up to number 5 orbit. Okay, and then on my control panel here I'm going to record where I've got to, so I've got to number 5 there, and then I'm going to roll again and check my stability basically, and check that I'm on course. So I've recorded that I'm on level 5, and then I'm just going to roll the dice again, and this dictates how far clockwise I go. So I move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces clockwise, and as you can see that number's in green, so I'm perfectly safe. It means that I am on course. If I'd rolled a 1, I would be unstable. Okay. If I roll red, it's not a problem this turn, but if I roll another red, then it means that I'll end up falling back to Earth because my course is too unstable. But as you can see, I'm on course, so we're all good. Okay. If I return to Earth, I've just got to try and blast off again next turn. So yellow would do the same. They would move out 4, and then they would move round just the 1, and then they would adjust on their control panel again, just the same. Okay. You carry on round the board, moving, rolling and moving, rolling and moving, until you come back into the command area. So I was on 5, wasn't I? As soon as I'm back into the command area, I can try and I'll reach orbit 7. So I'll roll my dice this time, and I'll move out into orbit 7, and then I'll carry on clockwise round there. And the same again when I roll. If so now I'm in orbit 7, I'm safe. Okay, so I just keep moving round. Okay, and then we're on to the next stage of the game, really. In the next stage of the game, we've got to rendezvous and dock. So we've got to dock with our capsule. So we've got our satellite here in orbit, just floating round, and then we've got to get our capsule up there. So this time, in order to dock successfully, your capsule has got to overtake your satellite. So we've got to get the capsule out and get it so that it's behind the satellite. And you can see there, one move here takes me all the way around there, whereas one move out in orbit 7 takes me not quite as far. Okay, so I'm going to have to manage that to make sure I can make them meet up. So we'd roll to blast off the capsule, and that's 4. So that comes out here where the command area is. And then roll again, and this time we're going to record on here our capsule orbit velocity, and that's 4. So we're in orbit 4, and it's 4, so we're good, we're on course. So that's really lucky. We can use fuel at this point. So our fuel starts on 8, and we can use fuel to manoeuvre, so we can spend fuel to move in and out here and around here. And eventually, by using a mixture of rolling dice and spending fuel, we're going to dock. Okay, so both of those are eventually going to dock with the satellite. So we've successfully docked, and the next thing that happens is the moon comes into play. So you pop the moon on the blue spot, and the moon is going to move 1 space at the end of each player's turn, and every time someone rolls the dice. To reach the planets, because remember at the start we said we were aiming to reach the planets and explore, we need to blast off from the moon. Okay, we don't carry enough fuel, so we're going to land on the moon, refuel, and then blast off again. And in order to do that, we have to be in either orbit 7 or orbit 8, and then we've got to land on the moon, and then we can take off again. So on your turn, you can use your fuel, or you can, you can use your fuel, or you can use, at the start of the game, you get an extra rocket thrust, and during stage 3 of the game, you can use that. Okay, so you're going to land on the moon, and then you're going to, so to get to the moon, we need to be alongside it. So the moon moves 1 per turn. So if we've rolled 3, we're alongside it, so we can just hop onto the moon there. And then we've got a choice. We can either stay on the moon, because the moon moves quite quickly round the orbit. Look, that's 1 space, that's a 2nd space, that's a 3rd space. So we can stay on the moon until we get near a planet that we want to visit. So we're aiming for Venus. Pretty sure that's a song. So we'd whip round, and then we'd get to here. Okay, so now we might want to hop off into 8, and then we're going to try and roll to get to Venus, or like I said, we can adjust and use some fuel. Once we've landed on Venus, we've got 2 choices. We can rest there, or we can blast off straight away. So really, you're going to blast off straight away. You're trying to get back onto the moon, but if the moon's not here, okay, then you might end up going straight past, depending on what you roll. So let's say we're on Venus, the moon's somewhere around here, so we're going to roll our dice, and this time it's going to dictate how far we move. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's an instance where you don't want to be rolling a 6. You record your orbital velocity again, and again, if you're unstable, then you can end up falling to Earth. And from here, to refuel, we've got the choice of going back to Earth or trying to get back up to the moon. You can do either in order to get your fuel back up to 8. Okay, so that is Blastoff in a nutshell. So one of the nice things about it, I really like, is the control panel, because I really like being able to move your levers around and keep track of things. It's good that sometimes you've got that stability, or sort of the times you're on course. There are extra ways of collecting extra rocket thrust cards that I didn't go into because it's complicated. The management of fuel is really complicated. So there's loads to think about, and it's just really beautifully made. And it's just a perfect game if you like space travel and you're interested in, you know, spacecraft and things like that. It's just beautiful. So there we go. That's Blastoff from Waddingtons.